So let me ask you about you as a leader. I mean, where are you in that journey? Because, I mean, you had such a great person to live up to follow, to work with. Are you trying to find yourself being as good as he is, or trying to be as good as you are?
I want to be as good as I am.
Do you ever struggle with kind of figuring out, am I comparing myself to him?
I don't think as much anymore because the business is different. My father and my stepmother were the ones who took the ultimate risk. They were the ones who woke up and said, we're going to try this. I didn't do that. I got in early and helped build the business. The business that I own and operate today with all these people is a different business. It's more complex. I have to operate it differently. I have to think about it differently.
Welcome to Constructive Interference, where visionaries sharpen visionaries. I'm your host, Rufus Cressend. Diving into the minds of those who dare to dream big and innovate boldly. Join me as we explore their stories, uncover their challenges, and learn from their journeys. Let's get inspired and sharpen our visions together. Welcome to another episode of Constructive Interference. We have Marc Ehrhardt with the Ehrhardt Group joining us today. Thank you for joining me, Marc. How are you doing?
It's good to be with you, Rufus. It's always good to be together.
Well, thank you so much. So kind of the whole premise with constructive interference is the idea that when two people come together that are like-minded, they create kind of that 1 + 1 = 3 equation. It's constructive interference is two frequencies that overlap, amplify.
All right.
And I like to think of it as iron sharpens iron, visionaries sharpen visionaries, and the things that we learn at the business owner level is really harnessed by other people that are like us. So that's why I enjoy just talking shop with my friends that are on this on the similar journey that I'm on and know the burden of being in ownership of a business. So but we're going to hit you with some rapid fire questions for now, just to kind of let the audience get to know you. So nothing you prepared for. So keep it simple. Are you a beach vacation or a mountain vacation person?
Beach.
Beach. Okay.
I'm a beach guy.
Okay.
Even though I don't have the physique, but I find what I like about the beach.
I could observe from afar.
That's right. What I like about the beach is the calmness of the water. More than it's really like I can even envision as we're talking. We like going to Pensacola Beach because it's somewhat quiet. But the idea of driving across the bay, going over that bridge to Pensacola Beach, taking a right to go where we normally stay, and even just that whole arrival of getting there and then just taking a walk in the evening, just standing there, listening to the water, you know, and the work we do every day, I'm talking to people all the time, and I enjoy it. I enjoy being together and being able to talk about the things that we talk about. But the beach is a place where I don't have people in my ear all the time, and I dig it.
It's interesting, the people who bring the radios to the beach, they just are kind of missing the point, aren't they?
Yeah. They are, but I'm one of those guys too. Like I can have it quiet for a bit and then I put music on. But I used to tell my wife, I said, man, those guys who put the chairs out at the beginning of the day with the umbrellas and they pick them up, I'm like, man, that's like the best gig.
Yeah.
Because you don't have anything to worry about. Just get to the beach. You have to put the chairs out. You have to put the umbrellas up.
Get a little workout.
That's right. When the day's over, you pick them up, put them away, and then the next morning you come out. I said, man, wouldn't that be great? I said to my wife, what a good gig. You don't have anything to worry about. And she said, that would last. She goes, you'd be able to do that job for a week.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you serious? And she's like, you'd go crazy.
You'd start a business, basically. You'd hire somebody, and you go market down the beach, and you'd take over. Yeah, so that's how our brains work.
It wouldn't work any other way. And I thought, over time, yeah, a week I could probably do it, and then I'd go crazy.
There you go. So morning like
guy.
How early is morning?
Usually, it's odd. I don't wake up with an alarm more often than not, even when I'm on the road, and even when I'm in different time zones. Like I tend to wake up now. Like this morning, I was up at 5:30. I like waking up when the sun comes up.
Cool.
I think I'm not one of those guys who wants to wake up at like 5 a.m, have it be pitch dark outside. But I like that time in the morning now to get the day. It's quieter. I can read what I want to read. I can set the day up the way I want to set it up. And something I just, over the summer I started doing. in talking to other entrepreneurs was that time, just knock out the most important things you have to do that day. And if you can even get a couple of them knocked out before everybody else gets going, man, you're ahead. You're ahead the whole day.
Right. Focus time.
Yeah.
Right. Quiet time.
Oh, yeah.
Do you like listening to books or reading books?
Read. For sure, in my hands. I'm not a somebody. I prefer not to read things on a Kindle. I like having it in my hand. I like the progress of making it from beginning to end. I keep score.
Yeah,
I keep score on a lot of things, to my own detriment. But the idea of reading a book and finishing it,
I can appreciate that.
I
do not particularly care to read much. I listen to a lot. I consume a lot of information on Audible and podcasts and books. So that's the only way I can get through it. But that's awesome. But I can appreciate, yes, the small wins.
Yep.
So
I actually,
good.
I actually still read the newspaper, the printed newspaper. I get it at home, and I get the New
you're
York
an old
Times on
soul.
the weekend. Yeah.
Wow.
They
still actually do that?
Yeah.
Newspapers,
There's not as many. There's not as many, and they're definitely not as young as I am, and I'm not young. But they, there's something. So when we talk about what we do in terms of dealing with the public, right, and how people get their information and different things that they watch and read and things like that. The newspaper is an example of how we were exposed to more points of view we wouldn't have otherwise seen, by virtue of that was the main thing that we would read.
Yeah.
And so now
we're more polarized because of the algorithms that says, okay, they're more this type of person or that person.
Right. We build they call them news bubbles. And so if I believe the way that the internet is set up, the way social media especially is set up, is that if I think something, right, and I'm going to go look for things, I'm going to go look for an answer to a question. Well, based on the answer I get, I'm going to the algorithms start feeding me a bunch more information that just backs up what I just looked for, whether that's correct or not.
Yeah.
When you look at the newspaper, you just, you're seeing story. Like I was reading a story yesterday about relations between Canada and India. I don't know how many people are really reading about that, and I didn't make it through the whole story, but I wouldn't have not looked at that story at all on the internet, and it was interesting for about halfway through, and then I got what I needed, and I moved on.
I love that.
But it is it still doesn't mean people are going out buying more newspapers.
Well, no, but we tend to have a confirmation bias that we already have an idea in our head, so we go look for evidence that supports that, because we all have our greatest need is to be right.
Right.
I mean, let's face it. But that's the idea. So when we want to be right, we already have that narrative that we're playing. Let's go find other people that agree with us. Let's go find articles that support that. And you kind of get closed mind to any alternative views. But when you're not giving yourself that choice, that's really interesting. I have to find a way to diversify the type of content that I absorb.
And some of it's just go to, like, if you look at certain websites that have certain political leanings, right? You don't necessarily have to go back and look at the same websites on the other side, right? You don't have to necessarily do that. I would tell you, listen to terrestrial radio for a little while, or sometimes you just go a little deeper and be like, that's interesting to me, and then you get to see it. What we have in society now is we got severe trust problems, and everything has emerged as a fight to the death, and we've written about this through our own stuff that we do in talking to clients and just forming our own opinions. Is everything's a fight to the death, man. Like people quit going to church with each other because of how they feel about certain things or this, that, and the other thing. And some of the stuff that we have figured out is the trust problem isn't, we think we can spot fake news, right? The way that we talk about it is, it isn't my judgment that I'm worried about. It's the idiot next to me. It's your judgment I'm worried about. You're the one I'm sweating. I'm fine. Like I can spot something that's fake, no problem. Like 60+% of us think we can spot something that's fake, but only like 40% of us believe that you can. Right. So I'm not remember like George Costanza was like, oh, it's not you, it's me. I created, it's not you, it's me. Right. It's more of, it's you, not me. Right. And so it's, so we've done a little bit of research about that. The other part too, that's interesting is boycotts of products. You know how long it may last when people get all mad and everything about boycotts? Maybe 3 months.
Yeah.
Maybe 3 months. Harvard Business Review did an article on it, where like people go crazy. Oh, we're boycotting. We're not going to buy this can of beans anymore because I'm upset about what they did. And it was like, all right, well, let's go back and look at about like 2-3 months. How'd it go? Man, sales are right back where they were.
That's fantastic. Well, you had mentioned even something that I laugh because I think about the confirmation bias, but even overconfidence of the statistics of people tested says, I think it's like 80 or 90% of people think they're better than average drivers.
Oh, yeah.
Well, which is a statistical improbability. But you even want to take that a step further, it says, what percentage, or when asked, what percentage of people think they're better than average looking? Nobody's going to say they're below average looking. Favorite one is like, what are you above or below average lover? So I think that's like 99%.
I'm good. Like, I don't need to answer the question at all. The part I'm proud of is like I very easily admit that I've like totally outkicked my coverage when it comes to my wife. Like I've had buddies.
I've seen your wife.
That's
true.
Right.
That's
I've
true
had
statement.
buddies that look at me like, really? And I'm like, yeah.
I know.
Like that worked out just fine.
Yeah.
And but yeah, that's about it. But yeah, I think I'm a good driver.
Yeah.
I think I'm a good driver.
Right.
That's that works out okay.
All right. So let's kind of pivot to your business. Kind of take me through a little bit. I don't want to go too deep, but just give me an idea of just the origins of how it was started, what you do, what is the Ehrhardt Group all about?
So the Ehrhardt Group's a family business, and my father and my stepmother founded it in 1996. And I really, in talking about our origin story of the Ehrhardt Group, because we're about to enter our 30th year, it was founded around the idea of dealing with the public and figuring out. My father and my stepmother. My father had started his work in political campaigns. My stepmother was a creative director, and what they built a business around was the idea of figuring out how people perceive things, and then working with companies to effectively communicate that company's point of view to the people that are most important to them. And the more I've thought about our business, though, I think about it a lot in terms of a family business, because people will be like, well, why'd you get into it? I didn't go to college going, I'm going to study public relations and get into the family business or anything like that. And in fact, I wanted to do something completely different. What was important to me when I was younger and leaving school, number one is I wanted to get into a career in the short time after school that made an impact in some way. The second part is when the time came that my father and stepmother started the business, I decided I wanted to work with my dad. And so we'd have been, I say this a lot, to friends, we could have been accountants. We'd have been terrible accountants, but we could have been plumbers. We'd have been bad plumbers too. But the idea for me was just being a part of the family business and to go to work with my dad and to be able to do that together. And we worked together for 25 years at least. And I think the days I really regretted where I was like, man, what in the hell am I doing? Less than five in all that time. But the part, I'd love to talk about this more, I guess, with people as we go. The thing I've underestimated about the family business is the toll it takes potentially on the family itself, because the pressures are different. And I'll never know, since I came into the business after it was already established, I'll never know the feeling around what we do where it was like waking up one morning and going, we're going to do this. Right. My father and my stepmother, they were the ones who took that risk. They were the ones who woke up and were like, we're going to try this. And I even asked them, I'm like, well, man, how was that? Like, what made you? They're like, well, we didn't really know another way. Weren't you scared? And they were like, oh, yeah, I was sort of scared, but there was no failing. Like that was not an option. And we just figured it out. And but the part about it, as I've met other people who and really good friends who are in their own family businesses, the part that I really relate to, that in one day I'd like to help more, is the idea of the pressure you put on yourself. Right, it's different, The entrepreneur who starts the business puts all kinds of pressure on themselves, but it's pressure they created, right? They made the decision, they're figuring it out. In the family business, my dad had pressure of the entrepreneur and the business owner, but so did his wife. And then they had to deal with that pressure at home. They had to, at what point is he talking about the business or you're not? As the son going into the business, as the oldest son going into the business, whenever my old man would say something he was worried about, not only was I worried about it from a business sense, I was worried about it because my dad was worried about something, right? And then what I only realized until recently is, whenever I'd go home and say to my wife, man, I'm worried about this, my wife worried about it even more. And it takes it's just a different thing to work through over time it's what you accept as you get into a family business.
But I think that's such a fantastic bond that you must have had with your father, to be able to share that burden with him, to completely empathize by being in the business and being in it with him, and knowing that he had you in it with him.
Yeah, there's an aspect of it where it was like, so it went one of two ways, right? I knew you have the stereotype of the oldest son who goes into the family business and the guy's a clown, right? And the old man brings him in and, I'm going to teach you. You have Tommy Boy, right? And then the beauty of Tommy Boy, which is one of my favorite movies, the beauty of Tommy Boy is that Tommy figures it out,
right?
But a lot of times they don't figure it out,
right?
But I knew going into the business was already established. It was already around for a year and a half, 2 years before I got there. And I was at a bigger firm in Chicago, the largest PR firm, independently owned PR firm in the country. And so I came in with some knowledge, which was really beneficial.
That's really smart. So did he encourage you to go work for someone else, or you wanted to do your own thing?
No, what he told me was, so I went to college in Chicago, and he and I were walking down Michigan Avenue. It was my senior year in college. And we're walking. He says, we're doing some work with a big firm up here. He goes, and if you work for them for 6 months, you can work anywhere in the industry. Wow. And I was like, oh, okay. So I knew, I thought I wanted to go to law school, and was like, nah, I don't want to do that. I want to take a year. But I didn't want to just go. I wanted to do something that had some kind of measurable impact in terms of building a career, right? And so I'm looking through different listings and things, and here's this PR firm looking for an intern. And it was interesting because they were come to find out, they were hiring 3 interns, and they had 2 slots that they had already filled with women, right, college graduates, and they needed a guy. And so I tested out as the guy, like in terms of I got through the interview process, but they really needed a guy to round out the 3 people who were going to work on this project. That's how I got hired at this big firm. And I ended up working there for 2 years, and it gave me what my father always liked, is that it allowed me to come into the Ehrhardt Group with knowledge that he didn't have already, and I had a base of knowledge from the largest PR firm in the country to where I could adapt some of that to the Ehrhardt Group and how we were trying to grow. And so, it really helped me. I don't think I would have lasted in the business as long as I did with he and I working together if he had to teach me from the first day. Right. It would have frustrated him, and it would have pissed me off.
Well, 2 years of working with this other firm, and you were a huge pickup for the Ehrhardt Group. I mean, that's like a dream hire, someone that can come with all these fresh ideas from a non-competing market, but doing it at the level that you all aspired to be at one point. So
yeah, it worked. He made a big deal out of it. Like he tells me at one point, we were talking about me moving back to New Orleans and stuff, and so he tells me at one point, he says, look, I'm going to send you a job offer. He goes, I'm not going to tell you when, I got to figure it out, but I'm going to send you a job offer. And he goes, you can accept it or reject it. He goes, it's no problem. He goes, but if you reject it, we don't talk about you moving back to New Orleans for a year. I was like, all right, fair enough. And at the time, I had people who were my contemporaries at this firm who I cared about very much. I'm still friends with a few of them. They started looking and going in other gigs and things like that. So I was like, okay, what am I doing? I love Chicago. I love it. But I was like, well, what am I doing now? And sure enough, man, my old man FedExed me a job offer in a binder, right? To my office, to my desk at the firm I was at. And,
oops.
And so at the time I decided to take it, and, and then we were off to the races. But it really, the idea, like you were saying, building the business, I didn't really recognize it as much as I got into it. But now, my dad passed away unexpectedly in 2022. And when I think about the times we had together and people who are our clients today that have known us a long time and knew my old man, when I think about it, those were great times. Like the idea of, and this, when you have somebody, you're like, okay, I really think I can help this person. I think I can help this company. And you go pitch it and it goes well. And then it goes well and then you win it. And then, we'd win something like that and we get in the car, right? And my dad would be like, well, now we got to go do it. And it was like, oh yeah, man. It was, just that kind of enthusiasm, and to have somebody, that's your dad,
right,
or your mom, but
that's huge.
That's there to not only you grow the business with, but they're giving you that kind of feedback of like, hey man, I'm proud of you, and you're doing great. Or sometimes, one time, and I know we have other stuff, but
it's all right.
One time I was like 3 years into working at the Ehrhardt Group, and I had asked my dad for a review. I said, man, what about a review? And he looked at me and he goes, every day is a review. Get back to work. And then,
sounds like such a dad thing to say.
And it's totally a starting a business. Right. I'm focused on building the business kind of thing to say, right? And then there was another time I said, we got together at the end of the year. We're talking about the year, and I knew I didn't have a good year. I just, for some reason, I was making mistakes, and it just didn't have a good year. And I said, look, I told my dad, I said, I don't think I had a good year this year. And he looked me straight in the face and he's like, no, you didn't. And I was like, oh, okay. He's like, but this is what we have to do now. And I don't think he would have even remembered that, but he didn't mess around. It was like, you did not have a good year. And I was like, all right, well, got to make next year better.
I think I'll just go screw myself.
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
So I have my daughters, both my daughters in my business. I don't know if you knew that.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So Dawn runs the company. She's literally runs the company. So she kind of fell into it because Dawn was always the person whenever either someone quit or someone got fired, we're like, hey, Dawn, we need you to go fill this spot for a while. So she started the route of being an advisor, and she just didn't really take to it as much. But by us having it, it was really frustrating for her because she never could get settled into one thing and make a meaningful impact into the company. Not at that time did we understand that we were literally grooming her to know every part of the business. She can literally run every part of my business. So when I go out of town for several weeks, and I'm traveling a lot these days, but it's business travel, and I kind of mix vacation and vocation together as much as I can. I feel completely confident that if something goes wrong, she knows how to fix it. She knows every part of it except for being an advisor. And I got plenty of great advisors, which you're well aware of.
Yep.
So and the other one, Shelby. So Shelby started as a teacher for about 6 months. She's like, I don't like this. I'm like, I told you so. I knew that wasn't going to work for you. But anyway, she's like, so I would love to have you in the business. Why don't you come try it for a little while? So she's just smarter than me in so many levels. And she passed the exam right away. She's actually has her license, but she's working as a paraplanner.
Yeah.
Actually, she works very directly under Ellen.
All right. So, it works with me.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. So from that standpoint, we're grooming her to be an advisor, working on the confidence. But I guess the point I was getting to, so it is a family business from that standpoint. I don't know if you ran into this challenge, and I guess I'm kind of anticipating this as a challenge at some point, is that I haven't created an environment to where they can fail. Meaning that, of course, they can fail, but I protect them. I don't step away enough to allow them to make super big mistakes or any bold moves or understand how to take risks. Your father carried that burden for the company before you got there. It really wasn't your burden. I mean, it was very personal to you.
It was more self-imposed, where I put it on me.
But it wasn't your burden because you didn't own the company. So it was like, if you didn't have everything on the line, if something happened to the company, yes, it's very personal, but you can go get another job somewhere.
So I think it's great. Congratulations on having both girls in the business. And the part, I would tell you, there's a couple things I've learned. in going through it and thinking back on it. The first is, while I may not have owned a piece of the business, the success or failure of the business was as personal to me as I hope it was to my father and my stepmother. My stepmother got out of the day-to-day of the business in like 2001, 2002. She had other things she wanted to pursue and things, but she remained a partner. So even when we did our buyout plan, she was my partner, and just as my father was. So I was having to report to them on the financials, and we were having financial meetings every month and things. But back when I was younger, I did not take the financial risk, right? And so, but I also, I also knew that because my last name was Ehrhardt, that everything else would probably crumble all around as long as I didn't do anything illegal, right? Or unethical. But I was the last one out the door. If worst case scenario, however, that's its own kind of pressure, right? Like that's the thing, like being a child in a family business, there's the pressure of for me, so I can only speak for me, is I wanted my father to know that I was doing a good job. I wanted him to know that I cared about it. I wanted him to be able to say, hey man, we're doing this well. I wanted to succeed with him. It didn't really, in the grand scheme of things, what I've learned is it didn't really matter what the type of work we were doing. I love the idea of being in business with him. What I've had to learn since I became president of the Ehrhardt Group and my father retired and then has since passed is I've had to figure out what the reasons are why I wake up and roll out of bed to go to the Ehrhardt Group every day, which led us to, I created the values of the firm and our purpose because that's what I identify with now. And so there is a pressure there, and that because by committing to being a part of the business, while they may not have a piece of the action yet, they feel the sense of ownership. There was one day, man, and I used to agree with my dad on this wholeheartedly, and now I think differently, but I totally still see where it's coming from. I would get frustrated. Why don't people care about this as much as I do? Why don't they see what we're trying to do? Don't they see that I'm trying to help them, right? I'm trying to teach people different things, or why don't they care as much? And I went in, I was real frustrated, and my dad and I were talking about it, and he looked at me and he said, you will never trust anyone as much as I trust you in this business. And I was like, whoa, because he would do for me the same things you described with your daughters in the business. Hey, look, this is really messed up. I need you to go figure this out. Or this is really important. I need you to do this. And this, that, and the other thing. And the benefit was I was like, okay, great. Right, I'm going to go figure this out. This is what we're doing. But ultimately, what I've had to learn, he trusted me a great deal. And what I appreciate about him is how much he would tell me he trusted me. But what I don't think he's right about anymore was the fact that can I trust other people in the way he trusted me? And we've got a leadership team now that, man, I totally trust them. Because here's the deal. If I needed a person with the last name Ehrhardt, in order to do what I want to do in my own life, I'd never leave town. Right. I'd never take a day off. I'd probably be 450 pounds and be on my third heart attack. Like, I have no choice. We have to find the best people possible to do what it is we want to do. And then I have to put them in a position to succeed, because if I don't, I'm the one who pays the price.
Yeah, I find that, trust is interesting. So trustworthy, most people are trustworthy, especially if we employ them and they have proven themselves to be trustworthy. So it's not so much trust has anything to do with them, it has more to do with us. So when we have trust issues in someone, they take it personally that you don't trust me. It says, no, it's not a you thing, it's a me thing. There's certain things between my ears that I have to connect for me to let go. Your father was able to do that because your last name was Ehrhardt, and it was so personal to you, and he, Thanksgivings and Christmas would have been weird if not, right? So that's where these other people, they're employed by you, they don't have their name on the door. They don't, it's so there is certain degree of vulnerability that you have to get to that says, can I allow myself to trust these people and be vulnerable enough to be hurt when they don't reciprocate the way I think that they should?
Well, and the part we've started, so in the Ehrhardt Group of today, the people who are leading our firm, Man, I totally trust them.
Mm-hmm.
They've earned it because the part that's a through line among our team is that everybody, because we're clear on what our values and culture, what we want it to be and what we're trying to grow toward. The thing that's been constant about the people who have walked the halls of our firm over 30 years is they hold themselves to very high standards of performance. And it's just a characteristic that draws itself out, right? And ultimately, what I'm learning too is that what we're creating is a reflection of me. I look at people who hold themselves to very high standards and go, yeah, I like that, right? And we go through our processes of hiring and things like along those lines, but that characteristic pops out more than any. The other part is I think what you were saying is totally true. I've had to open myself up to be willing to trust other people and to take them at what they're saying is, this means a lot to me. This means a lot to me, to what I'm doing. Knowing that the people that work with us have very high standards for themselves that's helped me trust them, right? We used to say this, this is one time I got real frustrated. Somebody that was really good, man. She ended up going to work for the firm I started my career at. And she was really good. And we had lost a couple people to other places. We don't really lose people to other firms locally, but we've lost a number of people to national firms or people who just wanted to move to bigger markets. And this person was like the third person in a row, and man, she was really, really talented, still is. And I was really aggravated by it, and I wasn't mad at her. I wasn't mad at her because that wasn't fair. But I was just like, man, why are these people leaving? And so I'm expressing myself to my dad about it because at this point I was in charge of the team, right? You go find them and hire them and let's go. And he looked at me and he says, hey man, you got to get over this. And I said, what do you mean? He says, well, we sort of have like an unsaid contract with the people that work with us. He goes, you've gotten used to the life you're accustomed to now, right? And you're used to this business growing and this. Man, he goes, man, we need these people to do the things we want to do. He goes, we have to, and he goes, they're moving on to other things. He goes, but we're teaching them and they're taking that to other places and they're going to do great things. But he goes, you can't be mad. He goes, we need them to accomplish the things we have to accomplish. And I find myself actually in the last 2 years with people who are very talented with us. I've had the same conversation with them. I'm like, they want to do everything, right? Nobody's going to do it as well as I do. Nobody's going to do the job as well as I do. And I'm looking at them going, man, you need the people around here to do the things that you want to accomplish for yourself. You want to accomplish in your professional career. And there just isn't enough time to do it by yourself. And you're going to fall down. You'll fail. You need the people around you, which is really why I do trust the people around me more. We have a lot of processes and things and safeguards in place, and so that helps.
It sounds like you've created a really nice culture, a really great culture in your company, and that's really is a reflection of you as a leader. So let me ask you about you as a leader. I mean, are you still, where are you in that journey? Because, I mean, you had such a great person to live up to follow, to work with. Are you trying to find yourself being as good as he is or trying to be as good as you are?
I want to be as good as I am. Do you
ever struggle with kind of figuring out, am I comparing myself to him?
I don't think as much anymore. I don't think as much anymore because the business is different, right? And we were talking about this a little while ago. My father and my stepmother were the ones who took the ultimate risk. They were the ones who woke up and said, we're going to try this. I didn't do that. I got in early and helped build the business. But the business the business that I own and operate today with all these people is a different business. It's more complex. It's double the size of what it was when I took over in 2018 as the majority shareholder and president of the firm. It's just we have 20 people. It's a different animal than it was. And so I have to operate it differently. I have to think about it differently. The other part is I don't have the pressure of you got to keep this going for generations and do all these different things. I I just don't have it. My father didn't put it on me. My stepmother doesn't have that expectation. So what I've learned as I'm growing, and really since we first started really working together when we were doing the Goldman Sachs program, and it was really about us and how we wanted to try and grow the business, what our vision was for our respective businesses. I let go of a lot of, well, what would he think and all like that. But
I remember that being a challenge at the time
because we were trying to work out. We were trying to work out the ownership.
That was right around the time that you were starting to buy into it, and I knew that was the top of mind issue.
Yeah.
Right.
But the key thing for me was figuring out why I wake up in the morning, because when it comes to the business and the work that I do, because originally I showed up because I want to work with my dad, right? Once he retired, once I truly owned the firm 100%, it was sort of, I had worked so long to be able to own the firm 100%. When I owned it, it was like, oh, well, what do I do now? Like, why am I doing this? Because before it was like, well, I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to own the firm, and then I'm going to do this, and then I'm, and then it was like, okay, I did all that. Well, now what am I doing? And so I have a much clearer idea. Look, and the culture we're trying to build, it's up and down, man. I mean, we've had some really good people move on from our firm for their own reasons, and I'll always care about them. They're Ehrhardt groupies for life. But at different times, though, we didn't do right by them. We could have helped them more. We could have taught them more. I could have been more open to listening to them. I could have been, and so as we've gone through these evolutions, we're trying to be 2 steps forward with the culture, 1 step back, as opposed to, one step forward, 2 steps back when it comes to the culture. And so, but I have a much clearer idea of how to make decisions because of our purpose and values.
And that's the price of admission. I mean, people are going to come and go. It's not what you want for them. It's what they want for themselves. And, they're on their own journey. But I tell you what, I mean, with me, once I started looking inward and saying, okay, am I trying to be the leader that I'm supposed to be, or am I trying to learn how to be the leader that I am? Because we have these images in our mind of whether it be the idols that we follow, our coaches or our father figures or fathers that we basically like, oh, if I can just have that life, or I can just be a leader like that, or I can just be a boss like that. And you start trying to win someone else's race, and it's just, you can't do it, man.
Man, that's a great way to put it. Win somebody else's race. I don't want to, I've put so much thought and reading and work into over the last couple of years, especially about, I'm running my race, right? Like I was saying, when we first started, I was teasing about keeping score. I keep score to a fault, to my own detriment, right? To where I don't enjoy the journey, and I don't appreciate the journey in the types of things. Like, we're working on the Super Bowl, man. That's awesome. I've worked on a Super Bowl. I've worked on the most high profile issues, good and bad, that we've seen in this part of the country. And I don't stop enough to go, man, that was really cool. I do that a lot more now. And I try to do that with the people that we work with, but I'm me, man. I don't want to be the next so-and-so. I want to learn from them. Right. But I want to be me.
Right. I mean, as long as you're measuring yourself against the right benchmark, and that benchmark is you, what you're capable of, not necessarily what other people have done. And that's where it's easier. It's easier to see how somebody else has done it and say, okay, I'll just do it their way, because I know what the results are. If I just do it that way, then I will get this. So it limits our potential. But I think that's a lot of truth to that, and just being able to say, look, I've been Rufus Cressend Jr. Rufus Cressend Jr. for 50 years, and you know what? I'm doing it better than anybody else. And if anybody wants to be me, they got a long way to catch up to me. But by the same token, if I wanted to be Marc Ehrhardt, you got a 50-year head start on me, and that's not. No. It's like, why even bother? I'm not going to win that race.
And I try to convey that to my kids, you know, where like my daughter just started college, right? And I said one of the things I'm not trying to tell her too much, but I'm trying to tell her like, hey, look, don't worry about what other people are thinking, because they're so worried about themselves. They're really not paying attention to you. And you know, for somebody who, you know, she's studying musical theater or wants to be on the stage, having me saying they're not really paying attention to you, I'm worried that she'll be like, what do you mean? But it's really like, look, kid, people are so worried about the race that they're running. They're really not worried about running your race, and it's liberating. And, you know, so this summer, my brother got married. My youngest brother got married in London. So we did and I've been married 20 years. I turned 50 last November. My daughter graduated from high school. My son graduated from grammar school. So 3 weeks in Europe. We used every point, every mile we could, and did 3 weeks in Europe. And I told all the clients, the team was ready. They knew what to do, right? And I said, look, I'm going to be out of pocket. And everybody was excited, and it was great. And I was gone in Europe for 3 weeks. And I told some buddies this, other business owners, right? And I said, what I figured out, it takes 5 to 7 business days for the world to forget about you. And some people would hear me say that and be like, oh my God, I could never leave again. I figured it out and was like, it felt liberating. Like, yeah, man, it takes 5 to 7 business days, in my opinion, for the world to forget about me. That's okay. Because all that means is I can keep doing what I'm doing the way that I think it's best to do it, but I can also live my life, and live my life knowing that I can live the life that I'm trying to live, the race I'm running, not trying to run not only somebody else's race but 10 other people's races, right? And it felt great. Felt great. I read a book, a couple books, but this one is called The Gap and the Gain.
Sure.
Right?
Ben Hardy and Dan Sullivan. Yeah.
And I also read 10X is greater than 2X.
Dan Sullivan, Ben Hardy.
And yeah, it was great. And the Gap and the Gain, we know what I remember is the idea of measuring backward. And I love that idea.
So if you'd like that, we'll end it on here, but Ben Hardy also wrote a book that he released around the same time that 10X, better than 2X, is Be Your Future Self Now. And it talks a lot about what we just talked about.
Yeah.
It's kind of that advice from your future self, not necessarily advice from your younger self, but I think that's a really good one. Marc, how do people find you? How would they work with you? Who's a good client for you?
So for us, we're the largest public relations firm between Houston and Atlanta. And we work with leaders in their industry sector. So people who are usually in the top 3 positions of where they work, specifically like Fortune 1000 companies that have business interests in this part of the country. That's where our expertise is. So we don't claim to be able to solve problems in Wyoming. There are people who do that. But if somebody's got a problem, whether it's selling tickets, an issue they need to deal with the public, whether you want to build something or you want to move something or something along those lines, you know, and it happens in this part of the country, we're those people.
Okay.
And you go to tegpr.com, tegpr.com, or, you know, Marc, M-A-R-C. That's the only difference. Yeah. It's Marc, M-A-R-C at tegpr.com.
Don't even try to spell Ehrhardt if you're looking for that search. Oh, my God.
Or if you want to work for the Ehrhardt Group, you come in and know how to spell Ehrhardt, and you're already a step ahead of everybody else.
All right. Well, thank you so much. Was this fun?
Thank you. It was great. Look, Marc, come on and talk about yourself. Perfect. I'm all in. It's like
you do this for a living somehow. Yeah,
this is pretty good. Thank you, Rufus, for what you're doing.
Pleasure.
I'm really glad we're buddies.
Yeah, you bet. All right, man. Take care. Right. Thanks for tuning in to Constructive Interference. If you've enjoyed today's episode, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with a fellow visionary. Keep dreaming big, and remember, the only limits are the ones you set for yourself. Until next time, stay sharp.